Good afternoon, everyone. As people are coming in, we'll get started in just a brief moment. Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to today's event. I am Willie Santiago. I am the manager of programs and resources for APAP. I use they, them pronouns, and I'm a fair-skinned Hispanic person with medium-length wavy brown hair. I'm wearing a white collared shirt and a blue vest. Before we begin, I want to acknowledge that APAP is located in our nation's capital of Washington, D.C., on the ancestral lands of the Piscataway and Acostan and Pamunkey people who have stewarded this land throughout the generations. I would like to pay my respect to the elders both past, present, and future. Closed captioning is available for today's event. If you wish to turn on captions, click Show Captions on the bottom of the Zoom window. We are also joined today by ASL interpreters from Purple, Rhonda and Izzy. And I would also like to acknowledge my colleague, Grace Asuncion, who's assisting with tech for today. Thank you all for this collaboration. If at any point you need assistance during today's call, please feel free to direct message me and I'll do my best to assist you. At this time, we encourage you to please introduce yourself in the chat so we can all virtually connect, and we will have opportunities for questions and answers at various points throughout today's event. I will now turn things over to our president and CEO, Lisa Richards.
Okay, thank you, Willie. Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome. So glad to see you all. Conference, that's what we're here to talk about today. First of all, I want to congratulate the APAP team for really outstanding preparation. As many of you know who've been with us, particularly since 2021, when we've had our first online conference following the pandemic, it's been a road to getting back to business, if you will. And we at APAP, the team is working really hard to ensure that we are getting back to business, that you have the opportune experience at conference and that you are successful. So I'm very proud of everyone, all of their efforts, the conference team, conference committee. I see many of you on the line. Thank you for all of your leadership and your work for getting us to this place where we can actually launch. And we have launched, and we have many plans. So thank you for being here, and I look forward to hearing your feedback and staying with you until we get to January. Krista.
Thanks, Lisa. Hi, everybody. Happy hot July. We would love to see you if you are in a place where you can show your face. That would be lovely. Seeing each other helps build community and helps us put names with faces. So if you're able to take yourself off hiding or just your face, that would be great to see you. We have a packed schedule today. I do want to let you know who is going to be joining us today and going through introductions around the conference. We have members of our APAP team joining us today. I'm Krista Bradley, Director of Programs and Resources at APAP. JG Decker is our Senior Associate for Resources and Events. Neo Narner-Madison, Director of Operations and Events, is joining us. Sue Noseworthy, Director of Membership, and Willie Santiago, our Manager of Programs and Resources. That's who's going to be on this end. We'd like to know more about who's in the room. So we'd like to invite you to take a quick poll just so we can get a sense of who's here. And I'm going to ask Willie to put that poll up. Would you let us know how many APAP conferences you've attended in your career, so we can understand who's here? Great. It's a nice mix. It looks like we have a good number of newcomers or newbies who either haven't been to conference or are relatively new. We have a very good representation of veterans, people who have 10 or plus conferences under their belt, and a few folks that are right square in the middle of being proficient, but maybe could use a little bit more information. So that's great. And then in terms of the breakdown here, it seems like we have a good number of presenters in the room. That's great. A good number of agents and managers here. I am missing artists, so I'm assuming that some of them are under other, so I apologize for that. And good number of producers. So thank you so much for participating, just to give us a better sense of who's here. So today, we are here to give you some information about what to expect for the road to conference. We know that we have both veterans in the room, proficient folks in the room, and newbies in the room, and all of you are welcome, and we want to make sure that we get you what you need to be successful as you new to conference to give them a sense of what's happening. Our agenda today, we're going to go through what is APAP NYC, why you should attend, what's part of that, who APAP NYC is for, as well as how to participate. And then we're going to have a panel of colleagues here to share how and why they APAP and how they do it, representing different members in the field. Then we'll have a Q&A for those here, and we're going to answer some of the questions first from veterans so we can get their answers, get them answers soon, but also for people that are proficient and newbies can also hear what kinds of questions are coming up and learn from their colleagues. And then we'll close with some next steps. At any point, feel free to put your questions in the chat. We will be happy to answer those along the way if it makes sense. Otherwise, we'll do that at the Q&A. So that's our agenda, and I think we're ready to move forward. So what is APAP NYC? APAP NYC is the world's largest gathering of the performing arts, presenting, booking, and touring industry. It is also the annual members conference of the Association of Performing Arts Professionals, or APAP. It takes place over 5 days. This year it will be January 10th through the 14th at the Hilton in New York, as well as across New York City. APAP NYC, the conference, includes 4 pillars. One is community. We come together to build community, to find our people, to network, and to make connections and broker alliances and for that next year or 2 years coming down the line, and to plant the seeds for what they want to do together in the coming months and years. A third part of our APAP NYC is learning, and it's a very large part of what happens there. We have plenaries throughout the conference that highlight key issues that are impacting the field writ large, and professional development sessions that focus in on key areas of importance for the field, regardless of what role you play. We know that we will be focusing a lot on kind of the changing environment that we're working in. How are we dealing with audience evolutions? How are we dealing with advocacy? How are we thinking about technology and new ways of producing and presenting work? And how are we dealing in terms of with our workforce and the generations that we have in the workplace, and how are we ensuring our sustainability as organizations? So we'll have a number of sessions around those areas and then some. And then discovery, which is a very large part of the 4 parts of what happened at APAP NYC. This is an opportunity for people to discover each other in terms of potential partners that they want to work with, in terms of work and artists that they might find particularly appealing, or stumbling on organizations and agents and managers or rosters that they didn't know anything about, but for whom this might be a really good opportunity to learn from. So those are the 4 pillars. And if we go to the next slide, you can see how those 4 pillars manifest themselves at the conference. We talked about community. We have a number of networking and affinity groups that happen at conference. Over 30. These affinity groups are divided into the role that you play in the field or the identity that you have as a professional. There are opportunities for you to meet your people. We have over 1,000 showcases that take place both inside the Hilton and across the city. That is a really good example of our discovery element. It's an opportunity to see and experience a lot of work. And artists, professional development, as I mentioned, is part of our learning component. And the Expo Commons is a section of the conference that happens at the Hilton. We have over 300 exhibitors that are there over 3 floors that include their booths and rosters of artists and self-represented artists to hold meetings, to connect with presenters and other individuals with whom they can work. That is a big part of our commerce piece. And then this discovery piece you can find in not only the showcases, but we have programmed a number of new events as part of conference. Up next is a very popular event that we hold on Friday that is featuring a curated list of shows and offerings that are ready to tour in the following year. So that's a very popular event that happens. We have artist discovery sessions that will happen over the weekend. 5 Minutes to Shine is another program that highlights innovation in the field. And our APAP Honors Breakfast that takes place on Monday this year is a wonderful way to celebrate leaders and up-and-coming leaders on people that are making a difference in the field. Finally, we will also have more mentoring and mentoring exchange that happens at conference. It's a large part of our work at APAP to connect you with people at various parts of their career, and it's an opportunity for you to learn from them. So those are the key elements. Next slide. We are able to put together this conference through the work of colleagues in the field who work with APAP programs and conference teams to help us identify key issues and to give us advice on how we want to roll out the conference and the different components and how we can make you as successful as possible. Our co-chairs this year include Chisa Yamaguchi, who's a producer and manager with Sozo Artists, Laura Sweet, who's Chief Operating Officer at the Des Moines Performing Arts Center, Mark Wilson, who's the Executive Director at Zoellner Arts Center in at Lehigh University, Sarah Haig, who's an artist and owner of Rhythmwood Drive. She's with us today. And Sarah Saltwook, who is co-director of Holden and Arts Associates. They are joined by 20 other committee members who represent various different components of the field, including other presenters from both the US and Canada, other agents and managers, other individual artists. And I know some of them are on the call. Chris Kaminsky is with us today. I saw Rick Ivey, and if I've missed anybody, thank you so much for your leadership and your partnership. We appreciate you. Next slide. So for those folks who have been to conference, let's just share what's new this year. We have heard over the years how it's so important to try to reserve some time for everyone to be able to access professional development. And one way to do that is to try not to program so much PD, professional development, against the expo hall. So this year, we are very happy to share with you that on Saturday, we have done that. So Saturday afternoon, we have no professional development against the expo hall. We do have events that are happening in the expo hall to encourage discovery of artists and projects. Our Works in Progress roundtable will happen during that time in the afternoon, as well as a roundtable for people that are interested in socially engaged works. So that's new. On Sunday, we will not be having a plenary as we've done in the past. We've reserved more time for professional development so everyone can enjoy and access PD, including agents and managers, Sunday morning. That's new. The other thing that's happening on Sunday is that we will have roundtables in the expo hall, again, to drive traffic there, to give people an opportunity to meet and network. But we're trying to drive traffic into the expo hall, but not compete so much. We will have some professional development happening on Sunday in the afternoon, but that will be for operations, marketing, and development folks, and not necessarily for programmers. On Monday, we will have our member meeting. For those of you who have been to conference for many years, we used to have the member meeting on Monday. We're going back to having the member meeting on Monday morning. It will be early, and that will be followed by the APAP Honors Breakfast. We'll also follow that with a live mentor exchange with some key leaders in the field. So Monday will be a great celebratory way to come together and connect with each other, with people that are making a difference. We have also offered some bonus hours to the expo hall this year on Saturday and Sunday. We're experimenting by having a 6 to 7 slot that's open for folks to hold after hours or to do whatever they want in the expo hall. That's something that we're trying out this year and that our committee has supported and think is a good idea to try. So look forward to seeing how that will go. And then we'll also have additional affinity group gatherings. We got feedback that sometimes when you meet your people for the first time, an hour or an hour and a half isn't enough time. And so it would be great to have additional time. So we have looked to program more time for that. Next slide. This is not new, but it is more of a robust, highlighted offering for APAP. We have really tried to lean into making sure that APAP is accessible to everyone. And so we recognize the importance of leading with a people-first approach in our practice and in our spaces, and we're working towards how do we do that better. With conference, last year, we offered a great deal more of accessibility supports. This year, we're building on that and building on the feedback that we've received. So this next year, we'll have an on-site accessibility team available during all the conference hours. We'll have accessible signage. We'll have fully accessible on-site spaces for wheelchair users and others with mobility needs. There's access to water in every on-site room at the Hilton. Our quiet spaces were very popular last year, so we're going to have probably a little bit more stimulus-free quiet spaces for people to decompress and find a little bit of peace in a very busy and chaotic 5 days. We'll continue to have gender inclusive and chair accessible and companion restrooms. We'll have open captioning for all primary sessions. We'll have ASL for primary sessions and by request. We'll continue to have lactation and nursing pods, as well as a dedicated accessibility team during expo hours, as well as accessibility coordination with producers for off-site showcases, because we did get some feedback that would be helpful for people that are wanting to see showcases wherever they may happen. We want to make sure that they can get in and be able to access them as they need. And then individualized assistance and coordination upon request. Next slide. Yes. So I see your note, Chris Rimple. Thank you for saying that. I will get to that. I did also wanted to note this icon. We have layered on an accessibility icon on the APAP NYC website. It looks like a paper hat. You look for that on our conference website, and you will be able to select ways to update and alter the website to accommodate whatever accessibility needs you may have, whether you have Parkinson's and you have a need to slow down the movement on your screen, or your eyes are tired and you need things to be a little bit less contrast, or you have an invisible disability like dyslexia or ADHD and you need to actually adjust things, you can do that. So it's a wonderful way to explore different things that will help you. That's one way that we're acknowledging the invisible disability, Chris, both in preparation as well as some other ways that we just talked about in terms of the quiet rooms, but happy to chat with you more about that. So those are the things that are new. Next slide. Thank you. I'm going to turn this over to my colleague, Sue Noseworthy, who's our Director of Membership, to talk about who APAP NYC is for. Sue?
Yeah, thanks so much, Krista. Hi, everybody. I'm Sue Noseworthy, the membership director here at APAP. It's great to see so many of you here with us today, and I'm really looking forward to getting to know many of you better. Lots of phone calls and emails over the next ensuing months. Always feel free to come to the membership team if you have questions or concerns about anything. And look forward to you guys joining us for the rest of the Road to APAP webinar series. So yeah, I wanted to share a little bit about who attends and who you will meet when you arrive at APAP NYC. APAP NYC is for arts professionals currently working in or aspiring to work in the performing arts presenting, booking, and touring field. Attendees represent all genres and disciplines and come from all 50 states and approximately 31 countries, which means you will meet people from all over the globe at our conference, which is a pretty amazing thing. Approximately 47%, excuse me, of attendees are presenters. Approximately 13% are artists, 26% agents and managers, and 14% identify as other. And this includes producers, consultants, students, and other professionals working in different capacities in our field. And a note about the presenters in attendance, it's not just always presidents, CEOs, and programming staff, but we also have staff from marketing departments, box offices, communications department. So you will meet staff from presenting organizations in many different capacities. As noted earlier, this is a members-only conference, which means you, your organization, or your company does have to become a member before you can register as an attendee. The good news is that APAP has many different membership types for all kinds of organizations and individuals, different price points. We have multiple memberships for individuals that are very affordable, including our Artist Access membership, and we also have a individual membership for arts administrators. So please feel free to reach out to the membership team if you have any questions about membership, aren't sure how to join, aren't sure what level to join. We are happy to help you. I will put my email in the chat, but you can also reach out to myself. Again, Sue Noseworthy, membership director, or membership manager Keisha Shorter at the info@apap365.org email address. I'll make both of those available in the chat. And now I would like to hand things over to Director of Operations and Events, Neo Narnor Madison. Neo, take it away.
Thanks so much, Sue. Good afternoon or good morning, wherever you are. Hello, everyone. So I'm going to share a bit about how you participate at APAP NYC. Sue just mentioned that this is, of course, a members-only conference. So that's our first piece, is making sure registration is squared away. And as Lisa mentioned earlier, registration for our 2025 conference is open. Currently, we are in the early bird registration phase. And registration right now is $7.99 per individual. And this rate will run through September 13th. Regular registration will begin September 14th, which is an increase of $100. So that is $8.99. And that will be available through January 3rd. And lastly, on-site registration starts on January 4th. And that is $9.99, and that will run through the conference. Next slide, please. Yes, so in addition to our base registration rates, we have other participation options. We do have an on-site day pass, and that registration rate is $5.95, and that is available in January, so that is good for one day. You can do that on site at any point in January. We also have, again this year, the artist registration rate, which is $2.25. And this is available to both represented and self-represented artists. At this rate, you're not eligible to purchase a booth space. And again, this rate will run through our entire conference registration period, which would end at the end of the conference on January 14th. Group discounts are also available. Group discounts are ideally for groups of 4 or more. Groups, I think the sweet spot is groups of 4 to 10. We can offer deeper discounts for groups of 10 or more, but that's something you would need to reach out to our team directly to discuss those options. And we will put that information in their chat, or our contact information, rather. Next slide, please. Thank you, Grace. So another way to participate is to engage in our Expo Commons space or to produce or perform in a showcase. Exhibit spaces are 8 by 10, and that fee is $8.95. The 8 by 10 space is all that we have available. That's the size for all of the booths. One person from the exhibiting organization must purchase a full conference registration before purchasing a booth. A booth purchase includes a dedicated landing page on the APAP NYC virtual platform. You may purchase up to 2 exhibit spaces. Spaces, of course, available on a first-come, first-served basis. Booth badges are again $2.95 this year. And with your booth, if you purchase 1 booth, you may purchase up to 3 booth badges. If you have 2 booth spaces, you may purchase up to 7 booth badges with that space. I want to just stop for a moment to make sure that I clarify. As the primary purchaser of a booth, you are not required to have a booth badge. Your registration covers your participation in the booth. And booth badges are full access registration. So you have access to all benefits of the conference. And again, this year, showcase listings are $10 per listing. Next slide, please, Grace. Thank you. So our purchase schedule for booths this year starts on July 30th. We will again be honoring our tiered system for purchasing. So that starts on July 30th. If you're in the 25 plus year tier, you will be receiving information prior to exhibit sales opening. And we thank everyone for continued years of service. So you'll see here the schedule. Service opens on July 30th, and then it's open to all exhibitors on August 13th. And the tiered system is again based on consecutive years of exhibiting. Just as a reminder, during the pandemic, your tiers were frozen if for some reason you weren't able to participate with us during that time. Next slide, please, Grace. And lastly, in terms of registration options, we do have participation assistance available. It's a bit different than it's been in the past. The recipients receive $300 off of conference participation. These funds can be used towards registration or for purchase of a booth. There is no deadline for the application, and recipients are notified on a rolling basis until funds are exhausted. Next slide, please, Grace. I'm going to turn things over now to my colleague, Willie Santiago, to talk a bit more about programs, applications, and deadlines. And as I do that, I don't see any questions in the chat, but I look forward to Q&A at the end of our session. Thank you. Thanks, Willie.
So much, Neo. As Krista mentioned, we have a series of programs that are available by application during our conference. One of them is our Emerging Leadership Institute. It is professional development at conference that is designed for arts workers who are within the first 2 to 3 years of their careers. We have our Young Performers Career Advancement Program. That is a program dedicated towards young classical artists that work within Western art music. There's professional development available to them during the fall, and then they perform in Artist Showcase, which is the only showcase that APAP curates that culminate at Merkin Hall during the conference. There's our Up Next Artist Pitch Session. It is a pitch session so that people can pitch their upcoming works that are tour ready for the coming season. 5 Minutes to Shine, which is an opportunity to share innovations in the field. We have a Works in Progress session, which is for works that are not quite ready, but are in development and will be ready to tour within the next 2 to 3 years. And lastly, our Just So socially engaged works. It's a roundtable conversation, and the topics are chosen from a call for topics that we will be opening in the fall. The dates are listed on the slide here, and for more information, you can scan the QR code on the screen or go to the link that is listed on the slide. So now we are going to move into a panel. We have gathered today people from various aspects of the field who represent a variety of different roles. And so it's an opportunity for them to discuss what their roles of the field is and how and why they APAP. So I would first like to pose this question to Sarah Hay. Can you please tell us about your role in the field, what type of work you do, as well as how and why you APAP? Sarah?
Willie, I'm an artist. I'm from Indiana, and I'm a percussionist. I came from an area of the field where I had no idea what APAP was before 2021. So I fall in the newcomer category, and I'm still learning right along everybody else here that's new. But my goal and role as a co-chair for the committee is to be the voice of the new person and to help funnel questions along and make sure that we can all learn the lingo and understand the etiquette.
Lee, I think you might be on mute.
Can we hear from you now? Is my audio still cutting out? Chris, can we hear from you next?
Hi, sure. Hi, everybody. I'm Chris Kaminsky. I am Senior Managing Partner with ECE Touring. I'm really honored to be on the APAP Conference Committee for the upcoming conference. And I'm also on the board of NAPAMA, which is North American Performing Arts Managers and Agents, which is another member organization that serves the needs of agents, artists, and managers on that side of the desk within the industry. And so my role in the field, I am an agent. I represent a roster of about 15 artists in a variety of different art forms. And we've been attending APAP for over 25 years. And we use it primarily for, it falls right along with what Krista was saying about the 4 pillars of APAP. We use it for our business meetings, networking, adding on to our tours. We use it, so from a commerce standpoint, we use it for showcasing our artists, as well as scouting and discovering new artists we might be interested in signing. We've had employees participate in the Emerging Leadership Institute pre-conference workshops in professional development. And then also, we participate in the discovery piece and the learning aspects of APAP with PD, and also some sessions that NAPAMA puts on throughout the conference. Thanks for having me.
Hi, everyone. My name is Aisha Ahmed Post. I am the Executive Director of the Newman Center for the Performing Arts at the University of Denver. She, her pronouns. I'm also a board member of APAP, and I was also in the Leadership Fellows Program, cohort 4. So I've been going to APAP for a long time now, basically most of my professional career. For me, APAP is primarily about seeing work, both work that I plan to present and work I do not plan to present. I think of it as professional development and artistic development for myself in terms of seeing what trends are in the field and what people are thinking about. But, I use the regional conferences for a lot of meetings with agents, and then I really try to prioritize the work. And the second piece is connecting with my fellow presenter friends. I see the agents, building their booking, but then, especially if there's an artist I'm really excited about, I kind of do the back channel thing to try and get other presenters on board so that I can present the works I want to present, and hopefully they can get a nice tour going. So it really is about commerce, but then it's also about the artistic discovery piece, and seeing friends from near and far that I don't really get to see on a regular basis. So thanks for having me.
Thank you to Sarah and Chris as well. We're so happy to have you all here. Since you all represent different parts of the field as well as different numbers of APAPs attended, you interact with APAP in different ways when you come to a conference, be it your experience in the expo hall or attending showcases or professional development. So I'm wondering, what does your role as attendance at APAP NYC play within your individual work? And please feel free to jump in.
I mean, I'll start. I love, it feels like a real momentous occasion in the booking cycle that starts at the regional conferences in September or October and sort of culminates at APAP. It's really game time. For me as a university presenter, my brochure deadlines are in mid-February, early March. So it is like, get this done, get stuff contracted, get it on paper, and make it happen. And that has changed. I mean, I think before, as an agent, I was much more focused on the meetings and also closing deals, but now it's a little bit more about both the work, figuring out what's happening for even a future year, and also getting those tours together.
For me, being so new to this, the first role that APAP played for me was just learning the terminology, learning the etiquette, learning what's even available. I didn't really understand what went on in professional development sessions or how the expo hall worked or how showcases were run. And the first year that I attended, I was doing some booking work for a band that I was performing with. And I went into it so new that I really didn't even understand how to conduct my business. And really what I've had to do is just step back over the past couple of years and give myself time to learn. So my focus when I go is to meet people. And even though I'm new, the other thing I try to do is I try to add value where I can. So maybe this is all new to me, but maybe I can help somebody else along the way. And that way I realize that anything that I do at conference is in a way a showcase. People are getting to know me before they know what I do. And I've learned so much along the way, and I can't wait to see what this year brings as well.
And I think for us, it's exactly what both Sarah and Aisha just said. It's sort of a culmination of the meetings that we have already had in the fall conferences. It's also, APAP tends to be sort of in some respects a larger regional conference for the Northeast sector of the country. So if you are attending other regional conferences such as Western Arts Alliance or Midwest Arts Expo or some of the state consortia conferences such as Arts Market, you might not get that Northeast territory of the country, and they really come to APAP as well as the rest of the nation. So for us, it's a really important piece of those business meetings with our presenters and sort of wrapping up the business discussions we've been having over the previous 5, 6, 7 months. And I would also highly recommend, just to sort of piggyback on what Sarah was saying. I talked to a lot of new attendees at this past APAP, and it's overwhelming. If you've never been to a conference before, this one is huge. There are thousands of attendees, and there's 2 really big key pieces of advice I would give to somebody new is, 1, try to look at as much information ahead of time as you possibly can, and schedule what you think you want to do. Every day is a marathon, so you really do need to sort of pace yourself. Stay hydrated, take your vitamins before you go. Very, very important. So you stay healthy. But just set some small achievable goals for each conference. Or for each day. If it's meeting 2 or 3 new people, those are people you didn't know before you went to the conference. So have some, it can be overwhelming. You think, oh, I've got to get my arms around 3,000 or 3,500 people that are attending this conference. And there's just no physical way to do that. So I think it's really important to set manageable goals. And that is such a helpful thing. I mean, even for us, we've been going for 25 years. I mean, we can only do, or over 25 years, we can only do so much every single day. And mapping that out is how we get as much done as we do. So happy to answer any other questions.
I would also say on that note, I generally think of the Monday after Thanksgiving as the beginning of APAP actual prep. I get annoyed, frankly, when agents and artists reach out to me before Thanksgiving because I'm like, nope, not ready. But also when I get emails or text messages from people in January, just before the conference, it's like, I am already completely booked. I have figured out my schedule. I know exactly what I'm doing. Please do not come to me with, meeting requests that week. So December is really your friend. And I think it's a good idea to try and make sure that you have all of your meetings and PD and showcases at least sort of penciled in and mapped out before you go away for the new year, because otherwise people are going to be busy and they're not going to have time for you.
That is a great segue into our final point, because we are edging on time. What is one quick tip you could give to a first-time attendee?
I guess I'll go ahead and go first. Know when it's appropriate to pitch and when it's not to. And I'm going to slide a second one in. Screen your emails. Do not send blasts.
And yeah, to piggyback on that with Sarah, you have to segment the email list that APAP sends out. If you are a jazz artist and a presenter only presents dance, don't waste your time. You're filling up their inbox. They're annoyed. Really look for the presenters who are going to book your show. If you're a self-represented artist or an agency that represents certain kinds of acts, make sure that you're looking for those presenters who are a good fit for you.
I would say don't get discouraged if you meet somebody and it doesn't work out for that particular year. If you're in this field for a while, it's a long game. There are relationships that you will make this year or next year that will come into play years down the line, and you can't see how that is. I was an agent and then I became a presenter. So when I became a presenter, all of a sudden all my agent friends and I already had a certain level of relationship, right? So just focus on building real connections with folks. Like Sarah was saying, know when to pitch and when not to, because these people, we all tend to circle through the industry and they come back at a later point in your career.
That is all wonderful advice. So thank you, Sarah, Chris, and Aisha. We so appreciate the expertise that you bring as leaders in various roles of the field. So thank you all for joining us for today's panel. I will now turn things over to Krista and Neo for our question and answer section.
Thank you so much, Willie, and thank you to the panel. Great tips, great insight. Really appreciate that. So now we want to hear from you. We haven't seen a lot of questions in the chat. So now's your time, and no question is off the table. No question is stupid. We're here to help. So any questions from our veterans or our newbies?
Krista, I'll start. There is one question in the chat from Katrina. And Katrina is interested in knowing how to find out more information about pre-conference workshops.
Well, a few things. One of the things that we've heard from the field and we are responding to this year is by making the conference detailed schedule available sooner. And so, at the end of September, early October, we'll be coming out with a much more detailed schedule with all the things that will be happening as pre-conference and during conference. So Katrina, that's when you will look for that. You'll be able to see also when the affinity groups will be happening. We have open affinity groups that take place on Friday before the opening plenary. So that's a good thing to be a part of. APAP is kind of the fulcrum of a multi-spoke wheel that happens in New York. So there are a lot of things that are happening around APAP on Thursday and Friday for people that are in town. And so, our friends at Under the Radar and our friends at Global Fest and our friends elsewhere are working to do convenings. And I'm sure that we'll be sharing that information as well. So look for more detailed schedules at the very end of September, early October. And that's where you'll see the things that we are involved with.
And as a follow-up, Katrina was wanting to understand about when best to arrive to take part in the pre-conference activities. So as Krista mentioned, the schedule, I think typically programming of any sort is generally starting Thursday evening or Friday morning. With that said, our housing block at the Hilton is open that entire week. So if you are coming in early, if you're coming from the West Coast or need to, you can book rooms as early as Monday and get access to our group rate. Krista,
Yeah, and just to
no,
piggyback
go
on what you
ahead.
just said. Yeah, piggyback on what you just said, Neo. Friday morning, we start our pre-conference gatherings at 9 o'clock. So I think you would want to come in if you're not on the East Coast. You definitely want to come in on that Thursday, so you're ready and able to participate in at least the Friday morning pieces. And we'll have both forums that morning as well as affinity groups taking place starting at 9.
Thank you, Krista. And we have a question from Ed Scholler. Ed is wanting to know a little bit more about the Just So session and how that might be different or similar to mission-driven programming.
That's a great question, Ed. I'm happy to start, and then I'm going to ask if Willie wants to add anything. But socially engaged work came out of the desire and expressed need and interest from artists and presenters who wanted to work in a different way and to find people who shared that desire. So we created a space for people who are interested in works that dealt with the criminal justice system or around particular identities or around process and incarceration. Any work or process that is focused on social enterprise, social justice, social processes. That's where people that are interested in those things can gather. It's different from mission-driven programming in that, you know, not everybody there is a presenter. Some folks are looking to provide space to work in process with artists around particular projects like that, or they're really interested in a particular topic like climate change and how it's impacting the field. We have a growing affinity group that came out of a group of people that met during that time, and they feel like we need to talk more about those particular issues. So, you know, APAP is really great for convening. That's what we do, and we provide space for people to gather and find connection and a way to identify key issues that they share something, you know, in. So that's how socially engaged work happened, and it's evolving. We're continuing to create space for that and to see how it takes shape, but it's an opportunity for people to find and explore ways to work together around those key issues. I hope that helps. Willie, did you want to add anything?
So that covers everything.
Krista, this isn't a question, but rather a comment from Chris Kaminsky. And Chris was sharing about the benefits of signing up for a mentor. And I was hoping you could talk a bit about changes to the mentor structure a bit from what we've done in the past. You and Sue as well. Thank you.
Yeah, Sue, do you want to take that first, or do you want me to start?
If you can start, that would be great. And then I can talk about the orientation.
Sure. So mentoring has played a long role in APAP's work, particularly in leading up to conference. And in the past, we really, Sue and Sue's team has been responsible for identifying mentors and teaming them up with people that are new to conference. We found that people need a little bit more of a longer runway to get prepared for conference, but also they wanted opportunities to learn from people in the field, not just around conference, but in their career. So this year or last year actually, we started doing a number of different things. We launched the Mentor Exchange, the Halsey North Mentor Exchange, to provide opportunities for people in the field to connect with colleagues who may have expertise and experience that they could tap in a public way. We're doing both public sessions with people in the field to share their insight about particular issues and to give opportunities to people for those in the field to connect with them in small groups. And then we're going to be launching a program called Ask a Mentor in the fall, which is a member benefit where folks can sign up to meet in 30-minute sessions with a roster of leaders from the field. It's a pilot program, and we hope people will take advantage of it. It's a wonderful opportunity to connect with the people who have shaped this field and have really driven its development over the years. And we don't often have that opportunity, and we won't always have that opportunity because, you know, time is moving quickly. So that's what we're leaning into in terms of mentoring. And then at conference, we'll have a live mentor exchange there and opportunities for people to meet with other folks in the field. So that's how mentoring is taking a different shape. And to provide this longer runway for conference, we're doing things like this. We started Road to Conference earlier, so you can hear more about the information you need to be successful, but also be able to access people from the field that you might not know, to access their expertise to help you plan and shape your work. Sue?
Yeah, and I will also add that we do have the APAP NYC orientation session, the very first full day of conference, Friday, January 10th. That happens at 1:30, and that is similarly structured to sort of our old school, you know, first timer mentor matching program, but it's really geared towards, you know, information sharing, conversation sharing with everybody at the table. It's not just specifically geared towards the folks who are new. It's just a nicer approach to that. But of course, you know, like I mentioned earlier, my team and I do a lot of advanced assistance and just onboarding of first-time attendees. So, you know, we can really help direct you if you're not sure how to get started. You know, you've joined, you've purchased your conference registration. Okay, what's next? We can kind of help you get started, answer some basic questions, kind of direct you to the next couple steps you'll need to make. And if you really need help, we can, of course, you know, put you in touch with somebody who can offer, you know, a deeper degree of advice in your specific area. For example, if you're a showcaser, you know, we can put you in touch with showcase producers who can answer some questions. So if you are feeling lost and just need some support and just a friendly face, Keisha and I are thrilled to be one of your first points of contact to just help get you oriented to all things APAP.
Great. Thank you, Sue. Thank you, Krista. So it looks like there aren't more questions in the chat. I welcome you all again to share any questions you might have at this time. Okay, seeing none, well, I'll do this again. Krista or Sue or Willie or JG, is there anything more you'd like to share? And I'll ask our panelists as well. Is there any additional advice you'd like to share?
Yes, I can share a couple of things since we don't have too many questions in the chat right now. I know sometimes those of you who are new, sometimes you don't even know what question to ask. And there's a couple of things that have come up in the chat already that I think are great examples of that. Chris brought up earlier the terminology presenter. So sometimes as artists, we think that we're presenters because we're presenting a show. And in this part of the field, a presenter is the one that's going to be it's usually like a host of the show at a venue. So they're on the buying side. We're on the selling side as artists. So just to focus on the newer folks here for a second, it really comes down to three different kinds of people that go to conference: the buyers, the sellers, and those that are in other non-selling or buying roles in the field. And there's all kinds of etiquette to learn. And this, I know that this webinar is not going to answer much of that, but there will be other webinars to join where we can get into some of more of those things for the new people. But just as a heads up, if you hear terms and you're not sure how they're used, I forget who said it, maybe it was Krista, that there's no stupid question, and that's really true. I've asked some really stupid questions, but that's how you get answers. So if you do hear something, please feel free to ask that question.
Yeah,
Thank
because
you,
we've
Sarah.
all had them. We've all had those questions at some point. Absolutely. So feel free to shout them out if you've got any.
I think there's
We do
one,
have a-
Nomi. Yeah? Do you want to go ahead with that one, Neo?
I'm going to open this actually to a few of our colleagues and conference committee members, but Nomi's question is, as an artist, what is the best way to make the most of showcasing at the conference? And Nomi, I'm not sure if you're available to talk a bit more, but before I solicit answers, I'd like to know, and I assume, would this be your first time attending APAP NYC?
Yeah. I've never attended this before. So yeah, it'll be my first time. And so I just, wanted to know, there's I've seen a lot of, different people who will be there. So what's the best thing? And thank you, Sarah. I know you spoke a lot about it, like learning, but still in preparation, what is the best way to prepare and to showcase as an artist?
So
I can answer that from an agent's perspective because we do showcase a lot of artists.
Oh, good.
One of the things with APAP is that there aren't, other than the, maybe theater for young audiences, there really isn't an APAP sponsored showcase per se, like you might have at regional conferences. All of the showcases are independent. There are a lot that take place in the Hilton. And then there are also a lot of showcases that take place offsite and away from the hotel. Most all of the dance showcases might take place at Ailey or New York City Center. What kind of, are you or is your show a musical show or dance or theater or?
Yeah, musical theater.
Okay. So there are advantages to showcasing in the hotel. Obviously, the rooms in the hotel are ballrooms or meeting rooms, so it's not like being in a theater where you have a full set and all of that. But the presenters understand that and know that they are literally running from one room to another because there's so many showcases that are taking place at one time. So and I'd be happy to speak with you more offline about this too, but just in case anybody has questions, the different showcase producers and APAP can put you in touch with some of the different showcase producers. They typically sublet showcase slots in the rooms in the hotel where they're producing these showcases. A lot of the showcases tend to take place Friday night, Saturday night, and Sunday night. And they really vary in terms of their fee structure with that and what they offer from a production standpoint. But you're typically looking at a 15, maybe 20-minute showcase. And some artists will showcase more than once to give presenters an opportunity to see them. If you are only doing a Friday night showcase at 8 o'clock and they're going to see a Broadway show, and they're also interested in you might miss out on them if they really are going to go see that Broadway show. So sometimes having that 8 o'clock on Friday and then maybe a 5 p.m. on Sunday is a great opportunity to sort of cast a wide net, if you will. But it's really getting connected with the showcase producers and finding out their showcase rental rates, showcase fees, and then advertising your showcase through the APAP platforms. And you may want to send out an email to presenters who book musical theater, which you'll be able to sort of tell that in the registration list. And you may want to also do sort of a postcard mailer a few weeks prior to the conference to let people know. And this is part of why when Sarah and I were talking about why it's so important to register as an artist rather than a presenter, is that the presenters really can be bombarded by emails prior to the conference. And sometimes it's, you know, as much as we preach, curate your email list, curate your list, segment your list, only send it to people that really do what you present. There are still people who will just you know, shotgun an eblast out to everybody, and that's what frustrates so many of the presenters, is getting information that isn't relevant to what they actually present in their season. So being very strategic about that, and who you're inviting to your showcase, and then utilizing those various platforms to market your showcase is really key.
I'm going to jump in on that a little bit too. When it comes to curating your list, right? When you get the list of presenters that are coming, you know, and it's not enough to just delete the agents and artists, right? But do your research. You know, I always tell people the story about when somebody pitched me Toby Keith, and I have a 750 seat venue, right? I mean, like, you have to take a look and you'll be more successful. It takes a lot more time, but you'll be way more successful if you look up what they present in the first place. How big is the space? Do your research, because, you know, as somebody who gets bombarded by these emails, I'm not kidding when I say I can get 100, 150 a day leading up to conference. And unless it's somebody who I have a relationship with, at that point, I've already probably scheduled a lot of meetings and showcases, and so things just get deleted. So if you want to maximize your time, figure out who it is. You know, it doesn't need to be aspirational. You know, build your network and take the time it takes to build a successful touring career.
Oh, that was super helpful. Thank you so much. I know, Chris, you said that you don't mind talking online. How do we get offline? How do we get your contact?
I'll put it in the chat.
Great.
Both of you, thank you guys.
Absolutely.
Thank you, Nomi, and thank you everybody for responding to Nomi. I would like to offer up an alternative perspective, and that is, as a first-time attendee who is a self-represented artist, I would encourage you to consider the option of not to showcase. Because as a first-time attendee and a first-time artist at conference, I think Chris mentioned this, actually everybody's mentioned it, it's a large conference. It's an opportunity to build relationships. It's a great freedom to be able to go as an artist in a stealth way, really, without showcasing, to get to see and meet with and attend sessions, to learn about what's happening in the field, to meet people in the... That's gold. And that's an opportunity to build your network and also to attend showcases of fellow artists, so you can see what works and maybe what doesn't, or like how people are responding to things. So I would say that there's an alternative, that you don't feel like you have to showcase as a first-time attendee, because you're putting out a lot of money and you want to make sure that that money goes as far as it can. And so I would just offer that as an alternative to that.
Piggyback real quick off of that, Krista. I totally agree with you, first of all. But also there's the entire year-long cycle to consider too. And that is such a big investment, especially for a smaller artist. It's such a commitment. You really have to go through an entire cycle to build yourself up. Even if this is first time and you're really set on showcasing, I mean, we're already in July, so there should already be connections being made, and you will need to reach out and make appointments so that all of that money and time in that showcase result in people showing up for your showcase and then following up to book your show. And that's usually a very long-term game plan that usually does not happen the first year. I've been told that really for people to begin to recognize you and to have enough confidence that you're a stable artist, you need to be there for at least 3 to 5 years.
Yeah, I really didn't feel like I knew my way around the conference until about 4 or 5 years in.
Okay, Krista, we've got a couple more questions. In the chat, and I'll throw this to you and or Willie, from Owen. Owen would love to hear more about the ELI program and what kind of PD opportunities are available through this cohort.
I'll really take that one. Yeah.
So the Emerging Leadership Institute, it begins on Wednesday. So that would be 2 days before the conference formally begins on Friday. So during, and it runs from Wednesday afternoon through Friday morning and is finished by Friday around, I believe, noon. So during that time, you are gathered with a cohort of approximately 30 people, and you are led by Teresa Holden and Rosalba Rolón. They have been leading the ELI program for a number of years. And so we also have other faculty that are part of it. There's an opportunity for you to do small group breakout activities. It's meant to and designed for young emerging arts professionals that are within the first 2 to 3 years of their careers. We say career, not necessarily, there's not an age requirement that is a part of it, because anyone can change roles at any point in the field or enter at any point, realistically speaking. So don't let that be a limiting factor. It's more based upon like your length of time in the field, in terms of the population that we admit into the program. But during ELI, you'll be gathered with a cohort. You'll have opportunities to hear from industry experts in the field. You'll do breakout sessions with your peers, a lot of opportunities to share. And then you'll also be connected with a large alumni network of over 500 people. This program has been running since I believe 2002. It's one of APAP's longest standing leadership programs. So it's a really unique opportunity to connect with a lot of people from different parts of the field. It's meant for presenters, agents, artists, and producers. And it's meant to really bolster the leadership skills that you already have and connect you with a wide swath of people that APAP has historically had.
Thanks, Willie. We have a couple of ELI alumni. I see Caroline on here. Caroline, did you want to mention anything about the program?
Yeah, I was just going to say, Owen, it was probably the most transformational experience for me. I was part of the 2018 cohort, and it has set me on a path in my career that I don't think I would be on if I had not experienced it. So I highly recommend applying if it's something you're interested in.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
Yeah, I think there are other alumni here, but I'm just not seeing everybody. Thanks for raising that.
A few more questions in the queue. Jeffrey Siegel, I see your hand raised.
I muted myself. Hi, how is everybody? So I'm a self-producing artist who's putting together a Tony Bennett tribute show. And I attended the conference last year for the first time and lurked and found it very interesting. I have a couple questions. First of all, I forget the name of the event that was presented, but there was one event where there were about 200 buyers in the room, and they showcased videos of about 10 different acts that were looking to book themselves out, and they gave a handout saying this is the range of what it costs to bring us and how many people we have, blah, blah, blah. What was the name of that particular event?
That was Up Next. That is the curated pitch session that Willie mentioned that happens on Friday before the opening plenary. There's a deadline for Up Next applications, which I think, Willie, if you can put that into the chat, but for pieces that are ready to tour, you can submit an application, and then those applications are curated, and we pick 10 to 15, 20 projects for that pitch session. So that's what that was.
But I don't know if who has any response to this or any comment on this. I would like to say that as an attendee, I thought the Up Next idea was a wonderful idea. I thought it seemed like there were a lot of people in the room who were not necessarily interested in all the acts they saw, but it was great that they got all that information about the acts. And I was a little surprised and disappointed leaving the conference that there wasn't more of that kind of assistance to the artists being given to help them network with the buyers. I talked to people who had purchased booths who were deeply disappointed about their lack of interaction with buyers who just walked on past them. They weren't able to get the kind of FaceTime. They weren't able to put their information in front of them in that way. And even showcasing, I attended a number of showcases, some of which were awfully good and very lightly attended. So I don't know if anyone from the organization has any response about, is there anything better APAP can do to help self-producing artists who invest in showcases and booths network more efficiently, beside those sit in the hallway and talk to whoever show up tables where people don't know you, they don't sit down with you.
Yeah. Thanks for that, Jeffrey. Appreciate that feedback. There are a couple of ways. One way is showing up for the other things that happen at conference, including the professional development and the affinity groups and the forums and the roundtables, because that's where networking happens by the people that you're sitting next to in a session, in the Q&A that happens afterwards, in talking to them in the hallway and saying, I really appreciated the perspective that you had without pitching, to actually create those connections. The Just So and the works in progress sessions that we talked about that are scheduled on Saturday, they're both a response to this feedback. That is not the first time we've heard that, but that's how do we create spaces for presenters and producers and artists and represented artists to connect around things that that might be mutually beneficial. So that's what we've done, and we're building on some of that pilot stuff from last year to see how we can continue to get that working even more efficiently. So that's what I would offer. Just it's not the first time we've heard that. Totally hear you, and there are lots of opportunities to connect without pitching, but also trying to make a connection with people who are buyers. I don't know if there's anything else that I've left off the list, colleagues, but please feel free to add to that.
I think part of it is connecting with people prior to APAP. So if you're going to other conferences, just prior to this, I was on an APAMA webinar and we were talking about best sales strategies, and it was this theme for that particular webinar. And one of the things that one of my fellow board members mentioned was, using this time just to get to know presenters over the summertime when they're not in the frenzy of trying to figure out their upcoming season. Like, this is a really good time just to network without it being a hard sales push. Get to know the venues in your area. And if you're new to the performing arts field, I can't stress this enough, and you're self-represented, work your immediate territory, that 5-6 hour from your home base or where your act is based. Get to know those venues and those presenters first and put down some roots with them, get to know them so that they can then speak on your behalf at a larger table. It's really key. But I totally understand the frustration, Jeffrey, of being at a conference and feeling like you're invisible, like everybody's just walking right by you. I mean, the first few conferences I ever attended, 25 some years ago, I was not a conference newbie. We were doing a lot of college conferences at the time. So coming into the PAC market, performing arts market, was very different. And feeling like, how do I get people to pay attention to me in my roster? And how do I do this? And it's time. And it's the investment, even though you're sitting there thinking, I need to return on my investment. I got to make some money back. You know, there's that push pull of that, but really understanding, we've said it multiple times, is really is this long game. It's the long game. And APAP is sort of the culmination of that sort of booking season. And so really using this time between now and then, trying to make appointments with presenters, appropriate presenters prior to getting there, that will also help fill up your day a little bit. If you're, you know, at the conference. So that, yes, Performing Arts Center, I'm sorry, the PAC market, not Political Action Committee. I apologize for that. So thanks for putting that in the chat, Krista. You know, just keep trying to work those connections, make those connections between now and then. And it will really help lay the foundation.
Thanks for that.
Thank you, everyone. I think we have time for one additional question. And Quincy, some of what was shared, I think is relevant to your question, but I wonder, Quincy, if you'd like to ask your question publicly, and then we welcome feedback from everyone on the line today.
Sure. So I have experience producing showcases for self-represented dance artists. And every year I'm helping them filter out that attendee list. We're looking at where presenters are. We're looking locally, like you suggested, Chris. We're making sure that they're only reaching out to presenters who are booking dance. We think of all these, what we think are creative ways to reach out to presenters, mostly through email, send them little video snippets, send them the EPK, have multiple points of contact. But most of the time we don't see any email return from the presenters when we invite folks. So do you have any examples of what has really made an artist pop out for you in an invite? Is it mostly that they are self-represented, so that's less, that's someone who you're less likely to book, so you don't want to email them back? Is it a timing thing? Just anything really that you have to say about that would be helpful.
Can I chime in here? So thanks, Quincy. That's a really good question. And I do a lot of dance presenting. Hey, Rachel, see you. You know, it's really tough. I will say, as a university presenter, we have a lot of bureaucracy in terms of certificates of insurance and the contracts and the way the contracts are handled and the advance on the show. In my experience, a lot of self-represented artists don't have all of the infrastructure behind them to necessarily successfully pull off a national tour. And so, rightly or wrongly, I have a little bit of bias about that, because I want to make sure that it's not a huge drain on my team's resources to kind of help bring them along. And I wish that I was in a situation where I could do more professional development or, you know, production work or whatever, you know. But I have had that experience where, you know, it's really the ones that have an agent, at least some marketing person that can help us with, you know, the press piece and social media and all the rest of those things, and get back to us really quickly. And Quincy, I know that you work with Pinnacle, right? Yeah. So, you know, I mean, Pinnacle's always been really great. So I think a lot of it too for dance, if you're not like a diehard dance fan, is learning about these companies from word of mouth. All right. So like maybe somebody knows who Paul Taylor is, but they don't know who Mary Woodbury is or somebody, right? I'm not picking on anybody in particular, but but if there's somebody, you know, who can speak really highly about their experience working with that company, etc., that tends to, again, bump something up a lot higher in my email list. And again, it's like, you know, I love that showcase. I love spending as much of my time as I can, seeing as much dance as I can in APAP, because live dance is so much better than, you know, anything recorded. but it's, sometimes at the end of the day, it's just a time game. And there's just only so many hours in the day in that weekend. I know that's not very optimistic, but yeah.
Well, that's helpful. So sort of what I'm hearing is like, do you want to see an EPK, a tech writer? Do you want this email coming from someone besides the choreographer? So you see that they have like an admin team
Yes.
in their emails? Okay.
Like I love, again, I picked on Rach just because we've worked together before. But when I get an email from her because we've been working together for 7 years now, I know that there's a certain level of, infrastructure there for her companies, right? And again, it's just, I only have one person on my programming team and one person on my production team. So in order for us to get through the sheer volume of shows, we have to have somebody on the other end who's like, yep, here's like a ready to go tech writer that is in fact the tech writer we need on the day of the show, and not like an old tech writer that you're going to update 3 weeks before the show and increase my cost by $7,000. Not that that's ever happened to me. It's yeah, I mean, it's just that level of sort of polish and like and the experience to be able to make it run flawlessly for a tour.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. And we're actually building a program at Pentacle to help with all of those supporting materials to make sure that artists have what the presenters want when they, come to you. So that's helpful to hear.
Great. Well, we are just about at time. So we're going to wrap things up, and I want to thank our panel. I want to thank the APAP conference and programs team for everything that they did to get us here, to be able to be with you today, and an amazing panel and colleagues who are so generous with their time and insight to share with this group. And thank you for being here, for making time to try to learn a little bit more about APAP and your interest in what we do. So next steps, we want you to join APAP and renew your membership so you can be at conference and we can see you. If you want support, we encourage you to complete the Performing Arts, sorry, that's not right. Participation Assistance Fund application. There's no deadline, but that amount of money is finite. So the sooner you get your application in, the more likely you will have a chance to tap some of those funds. Please go ahead and register. Make sure you do it before the early bird deadline so you can save money. And that deadline is the 13th of September. If you are the hotel, book your hotel. The deadline for our rate of $235 is December 13th. And then we have decided to offer some early office hours. So we will be having a special set of office hours on Tuesday, July 23rd from 2 to 3 p.m. Eastern time. And we would encourage you to sign up for that once we have that link. So keep an eye out for that. But it's a great opportunity to ask whatever questions or additional questions that you might have, especially before booth purchases open. And then we hope to see you attending more of these Road to Conference sessions. So our next one will be September 25th. That will be around how to maximize your time in the Expo Commons and your booth. October 9th will be around showcasing. October 16th will be around the detailed schedule of the programming that we have. And then the 30th of October and November 13th, we'll have more of these Ways to APAP conversations with a number of people in the field as we get, hot and heavy, ready to plan for being there in person. So not something you want to miss. So make sure you put it on your calendar. And last but not least, please fill out today's survey. We have a number of folks from our board, from our conference committee on this call. The feedback that you provide around this session and what you still need or some questions that you have, really, we take that to heart, and that helps to frame and helps us get better at making sure that we're giving you what you need to be successful. So please take the time to fill that out. We really appreciate it and we read it. And then have a great day and stay cool and hydrate. So thanks so much for being here again. And we look forward to seeing you the next time. Take care, everybody.